He's been in for less than a year. But this was in September. So it was about 9 months to get to that
9
like
months.
fully kind of shredded bottom of the cut. Um, but it's pretty consistent, like 6 to 9 months. If you can be focused for 6 to 9 months and just be consistent, like you're gonna
And
look
that's
very, very
not AI
different.
generated. I mean, that's a real photo. Can you
No
vouch for
AI.
the?
That's the fitness photographer in Tampa. You can tell, and I actually have like video footage of the photo shoot just for like proof that this is real.
Dr. Richard Lowe, thanks for being with me here today. You are the founder of Shared Practices and Next Level Fathers. Been in dentistry 10 years, graduated in 2015. I wanted to jump right into a painful part of your journey where you kind of reached, maybe it was a low in your dental journey, that you kind of had a realization and an awakening, and you made a out of that. But maybe let's just jump into what happened and what took you into this struggle in your dental journey. Describe that to me, and then we'll work out of that together.
Yeah. It's pretty funny because I think on the outside, like people would have been pretty surprised that I was struggling as much as I was, but I was the CEO of a kind of small growing DSO, a chain of denture and implant offices with some other dentists. With some partners, and it all started as a podcast. So like podcasts sometimes turn into other things. It started as a practice management podcast, turned into a consulting company, and we decided to merge and grow a group, and we grew pretty rapidly. We grew 30 offices in 2 years, de novos.
Wow, that's a
And
lot
so
de
somehow
novo.
I found myself the CEO of 35 offices that started as a podcast in my closet in 2016. And now I'm a very unqualified CEO. And I was not doing well. I was not coping with the stress of dentistry. I was, for a while there, I was also doing full-time, full arch denture and implant type dentistry, which is incredibly, incredibly stressful. It's like a
Yeah.
lot of dentists kind of put it on this pedestal of being like the pinnacle of like, oh, I want to do life-changing implant surgery type dentistry. And I found that to be incredibly stressful and difficult. And then running a group with a lot of liability, a lot of debt, a lot of doctors, takes a lot of stomach lining to do something like that. And I just found this wasn't for me. But in the meantime, I was not coping well, and it was affecting, I think, a lot of dentists. The stress of running a dental practice, of dentistry, bleeds over. Like we make a lot of sacrifices to grow, and my marriage was suffering. How I was showing up as a father was suffering. And then even, I don't know, I just kind of didn't recognize myself anymore. Addictions and coping and sleep and all of the things. I was very unhealthy and about to lose my marriage. And I had a
Mm,
crash and burn moment where I was like, I have to step away. I have to
mm,
walk away from a partnership that I feel really bad about. I feel really bad about leaving my doctors that I was helping, leaving my partners and having to go a different direction. But ultimately, I told my wife, like, you're more important to me than anything I could build here. And our marriage and our family is the most important thing to me. And my mental health, and I need to get well and get the right diagnosis and get the right medications. And I don't think I fully realized everything that was going on, but I crashed and burned really hard. But on the outside, 3 months prior, just looking at me, you'd think like this guy has everything. He's on the top of the world. He's got a podcast. People are listening to. He's got this dental group. In theory, I'm sure he's rolling in the dough, but in actuality, just like any business, there's seasons of growth and there's seasons of harvest. And we'd been through a
mm.
lot of growth, and a lot of that involves sacrifice and reinvestment and all of that. And it was just hard. It was just really hard. And as I've opened up and shared that, I've just found so many dentists think that they're like alone, that they're the only ones who are struggling in their practice, struggling in their marriage,
Mm.
struggling to cope healthily, struggling financially. And like you go on social media and every other dentist has the appearance of just making millions of dollars and doing super well and taking all this CE and doing all this life-changing dentistry. But a lot of dentists are suffering and they feel really embarrassed
Mm.
about it. And especially men. I mean, maybe it's equal men and women, but I found that men have a hard time opening up. Men have a hard time figuring out their emotions and even really
Mm.
knowing what's going on. And that was the case for me. Like, I didn't realize how unwell I was because I just ran away from feeling depressed or anxious. I just escaped. I just sedated and all of that. So I don't know. That's kind of the low point and the crash and the burn, if that's what you were going for.
This episode is brought to you by Rebel Crown. Are your dental crowns seated in minutes with flush margins and personal one-on-one service? If not, it's your time to rebel. The Rebel Crown is designed by your personal technician who you can call or text anytime. Milled with premium Harvest Nanozirconia, manufactured here in the USA with a 1-week turnaround time. Learn more at rebel3d.com. That's REBEL 3D.com. For sure. And you just made a comment that you prioritized your marriage. So it sounded like the quality of your marriage was in conflict with your professional choices. And so that was a part of this awakening. It seems like you made this decision, like, I'm not going to just completely sacrifice my marriage. This is important to me. And so I'm going to make a change in my professional career to adjust. Tell me, why is your marriage so important to you? And why is the quality of your marriage more important to you than the professional accolades?
Yeah, it actually reminds me, and it's kind of a weird reference to pull in here. It reminds me of Breaking Bad, of well, I don't know. Have you seen that show at all?
Bits and pieces of it, not the whole thing, but I'm somewhat familiar.
Somewhat familiar. So Walter White, who finds out he has cancer, decides as a chemistry teacher he's going to go cook meth through a series of unfortunate events. And he turns into the bad guy over 5 seasons. It's like this, character arc in the worst way. But all along the way, he's lying to himself and saying, I'm doing this for my family. I'm trying to make enough money that when I die, because I know my clock is limited here, I've got cancer, I can't afford treatment, that they're set for life. But at the end of it, he really admits, like, I was good at it and I liked it. Like, basically being a crime boss and making drugs, he just, there was a thrill to it. There was this like high off of pushing the limits there. And I think a lot of times in dentistry, we do make all of these sacrifices. And I think a lot of times our intentions are pure in that, like, we want to provide a better life for our family. We want to provide a better, so that as a couple, we can go on trips, so that we can make great choices, so we can have more time together, so that we can potentially maybe retire early or have a really nice house that we can host people at and all these things. But along the way, at least for me, I found that I was just less available. I was less available emotionally. I would come home from a long day of implant surgery and just running a practice and putting out fires. And Christine would ask me, like, how was your day? And I didn't even know where to start. I felt like there was like so many things had gone crazy that day. And there, like, to give her the full context of why these things were hard and to relive the day, like, I just didn't want to. I was just like, I don't even know where to start. Like, and so, it was like, I'm living in this world over here. And then by the time I get home, I'm so spent that we're just kind of living parallel lives. We're just getting the kids to bed, and then I want my time, and she's watching TV, and I'm playing computer games until midnight or 1 a.m. and sleeping in separate bedrooms because we got a newborn and, all this stuff. And it just, and then traveling, there was a lot of travel. And I think a lot of times dentists can travel for CE, they can travel for a lot of different reasons. And between all of that, like, it just came crashing down that I wasn't being the man I needed to be for her. And it was creating a lot of problems. And there was undiagnosed mental health stuff too as well. So I remember Googling the term, what is it called when nothing sounds appealing? Like you have very little desire to do anything. And it was like anhedonia, lack of pleasure. And it's a symptom of depression. I was like, that's funny. I'm not depressed.
Like anything but that.
Yeah, it was just like, no, I'm not depressed. Like, that's weird. I don't, like, nothing feels appealing right now, but I'm not depressed. But ultimately, like, family and marriage and my faith, and like, I just feel like that's central to life. That's like why one of the reasons we're here and one of the greatest opportunities for happiness. But I was, me personally, in the pursuit of more, in the pursuit of growth, in the pursuit of something bigger that I felt like I couldn't pass up on. Like I really had an inkling, like maybe I don't have the stomach for building a DSO. Like maybe I don't, because it's just hard. It's just so much work and so many problems and so much problem solving. I was like, I don't know if this is going to go well for me, but I felt like I couldn't miss out. And I think a lot of dentists, maybe they wouldn't build a DSO, but they're like, I have to be a practice owner because that's what everyone does. And if I don't do that, I'm going to feel unfulfilled. So you find yourself in this situation where, I don't know, you just are creating enough stress and tension, and it might not be the right fit for you. And it creates pain and pressure in your life that might be unnecessary. So I don't know. I might be rambling at this point, but I do believe that like marriages and parenthood is one of God's greatest gifts to us. It's also one of the hardest things you can do. And so to like screw that up in the pursuit of money, but the reason that I wanted money was for my family and for my marriage. It's just this weird like cyclical, I think I'm doing this wrong.
Yeah. Did your wife, when you had this, crash and burn moment, did your wife tell you that she was unhappy and that she wanted a change? Did she verbalize that?
Yeah. I think there was this kind of moment of reckoning of like everything coming out in the open and realizing like I'm not doing well. Here's all of the unhealthy ways I'm coping. And she was not okay with that and how much I'd put her through. I think that was also part of the hard part. Was like, as a couple, it's like as a dentist, you sacrifice all this to get into dental school, to get through dental school. I did the Army. We did 6 years in the Army. I did a 2-year AEGD advanced residency. And you make all these sacrifices along the way, but you don't just make them yourself. You make them as a family, you make them as a couple. I was married. We got married in undergrad and we had our first daughter between first and second year of dental school.
Oh,
and
wow.
so, and our second daughter right before we graduated. So all along the way, she's making sacrifices with me and it's hard. It's really, really hard. And then to get this far along and then be more distant, more separate than we'd ever been, it was very clear to me that like I was kind of screwing it all up. Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Des. Des is your one-stop shop for abutment solutions fully compatible with leading OEM implant systems. From tie bases and MUAs to the innovative direct-to-MUA screws and the new Des lock. Every solution is designed to streamline your workflow without compromising quality. Reduce chair time, cut costs, and restore with confidence. Do it with Des. Learn more at des-usa.com. That's DESS-USA.com. I remember, so I saw one of your videos where you were about to buy a $1.4 million home, and Christine told you that sounds terrible. Talk me through that. So here you are, climbing to the peak of this, CEO title. I'm sure you had a good income and future earning potential and the ability at that moment financially to afford a home, a $1.4 million home that maybe it was a little bit of a stretch, but many people would say, well, I'm going to earn more next year and the year after, so we'll grow into it and everything will be fine. But you declined because of Christine. Just talk me through that decision and how that went.
Yeah. Well, and for context here, so we live in Indiana. We live in the Midwest. We live in Indianapolis area. So $1.4 million, especially for not on like the super nice side of town, like the north side of Indianapolis, you got Zionsville, Carmel, Noblesville, Fishers. Everything's more expensive up there. Like your money doesn't go as far. But if you're on one of the normal sides of town, 1.4 million goes a long way, especially if you're kind of right on the edge of the country. You can get like land. And so this was like a 9,000 square foot home with like custom pools, like 30-foot ceilings, like just kind of like excessive. And we had been at my uncle and aunt's house in Canada, and my uncle and aunt, they have an insurance business. They've done very well. It's like, this was my rich uncle and aunt on that side of the family. And they've got all the toys. They live on a lake. They have this custom home that they built, and we were staying there for the summer. And I was just like, you know what? I think it's our time. It's our time to finally like get that like dentist home, have that like the upgrade. And so we start searching, we find this place, and I was just like, relative value for anywhere in the country. I mean, places in California and other Arizona, like $1.4 million is just like what you got to pay to show up at the table. But for us, this was still a stretch. And we went and we prayed about it, and I felt great. I also wasn't probably spiritually very in tune at that time.
That's
And
important.
so my like feeling great probably was not necessarily receiving an answer about it, but she just felt like this isn't right. This is a distraction. Like that was the direct impression that she got. Like this is a distraction. And so we didn't pull the trigger. And I'm so grateful for that, because that was like the fall before me crashing and burning. And when I crashed and burned, I stepped down as CEO and I stopped working entirely. I said I need to take 2 months of unpaid medical leave. So this was like not working, not receiving an income. And if we had moved and upgraded our lifestyle and had this, bigger mortgage and all these things, I think a lot of times we create a prison for ourselves. Like feeling trapped in dentistry is a really awful thing. And it's the lifestyle expectations we put on ourselves, our family puts on us, and is possible because we're in like a high cash flowing profession. So we create this like lifestyle creep. And then if we own a practice, there's all of the creeping factors of insurance and staff costs and inflation and all of that on one side. Like before we know it, we can kind of be, even though things like money's coming in, money's also going out pretty quick, and we don't create a lot of margin for ourselves. And if something goes wrong, we've just got debt and obligations and problems everywhere. So I was incredibly grateful that I could step down, and it wasn't like, hey, you only have a couple months till you run out of money. If we still had done nothing for, 12 to 18 months, eventually like we would have been in a lot of trouble. But between the savings we had, we were able to like stop and breathe and work on our marriage and get a diagnosis and work on ourselves as well. And so I was very grateful that we didn't buy that house and we didn't upgrade our lifestyle. And I mean, just to furnish that place, we would have been like living in an empty shell with all of our current furniture, because we're in like, we were in like a 3,000 square foot finished house at that point, with a basement that was unfinished. So we just didn't, and then all of our stuff, if we moved into that nice of a house, we would have had to like buy all new couches and all new X, Y, and Z to kind of match the level of that quantity, the quality of the neighborhood and the house we were in. And we've had so little margin that anything goes wrong and everything comes crashing down and it feels really, really awful. And then you got to like sell and move and downgrade, and it's ugly. So anyways, that's the whole story there.
Well, your wife is very wise. I like her word choice. This is a distraction. I think that was her way of really knowing what you were struggling through, and knowing that this home would just be another wave of distraction of the root issues that needed to be dealt with. And kudos to you, Dr. Richard, for listening to her. Listening to our wives is not fun and easy, but sometimes it's a really smart move. And I'm betting you're grateful that you listened to her, because the margin that you kept in your current lifestyle afforded you this runway of 12 months of just taking time to breathe. But if you had created this prison and only given yourself a 30 to 60 day runway, then, I mean, that's even more stress to deal with. And so I think it was very wise of you to listen to your wife, for sure.
I completely agree, and she would agree as well. I think we're all three of us are on the same page. But it's funny because in that time that I took off, the thing that is actually what turned it all around for me was I joined this men's group called Superhuman Fathers. Kind of a ridiculous name. I think every man wants to be like, I'm a superhuman father. I'm that super dad. And I think a lot of us know that we're not being there for our kids in the way we want to, or maybe we're not setting the example in the way we want to. At least that's how I was. And ironically, it was at a DEO meeting. I don't know if you're familiar with DEO. They
heard of them.
Okay. They're a mastermind. They used to be more focused on dental groups. So they were like a mastermind of dental DSOs, owners and people trying to grow multi-practice things. Now they're like helping GP offices, like single offices as well. But the founder of that group, Emmett Scott, he got up on stage and he shared his transformation. He went from like 270 pounds to 220 pounds. And, he's in his mid 40s and he had a six pack. He's like, I've been a soft guy my entire life. And he got shredded, and he shared his before and after pictures hosting this event from a stage in a room of, well over 100 dentists. And Kyle Carnahan, the founder of Superhuman Fathers, was on stage there, and he's like, we're gonna turn you into the father and husband that you should be. We're gonna get you in the best shape of your life. And I just, there's that Futurama meme that's like, shut up and take my money. And I was just like, okay, I need this. I'm in a dark place. I feel trapped. I mean, I felt like my prayers at that point had gone from real prayers to like single word, like help. Like, God, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what to do. I feel trapped. I need help. And this was the lifeline. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I joined, and I kind of let Kyle know. I was like, this is like a bait and switch. You get men in because they want to get in shape. They want the abs, but you end up working on the stuff that actually matters. Their spiritual health, their mental health, their trauma, their addictions, their self-limiting beliefs. Help them be better husbands and fathers and men of God. And that's what pulled me out of the darkness, was this like group of broken men. And it wasn't dental. They were like very blue collar. It was like, they're effing love Jesus. And, these guys are prior military and cops and guys that are coming out of drug addictions and broken marriages and infidelity, all sorts of like hard things, like, and opening up about them. That was the thing that was so rare, was that like, this was the place where you were allowed to be broken and allowed to admit the things you wouldn't tell anyone. You wouldn't tell your friends. And my friend joined this group with me. He's like, Richard, he actually told me just recently, he's like, I saw your picture. We went on a couples retreat in kind of that summer. We went to Italy and Switzerland, northern Italy and Switzerland. We did a 10-day couples retreat. And in that retreat, we kind of had our pictures, and I was like along my way on this like fitness journey transformation. I ended up losing over 50 pounds and putting on muscle for the first time in my life and getting a 6-pack for the first time in my life. And because I'd always just been a soft nerd. That's what Christine married, was a soft nerd. And I would never thought I'd be any different. But he saw a picture of me in Europe on this couples retreat, and he's like, Richard has forearm veins. Why does Richard have forearm veins? So like,
I love that.
It was like very specific, because it's not like I was topless on this trip. But he's like, Richard, what are you doing? And so he ended up joining Superhuman Fathers. And within a few months, he was like, Richard, you need to bring this to dentistry. You need to take what you've built with your podcast and audience and influence over time, because there's a lot of broken dentists. And, broken, but not as broken as some of these guys. Like, yes, as broken, but also not like we do have some things figured out. Like, we've figured out a way to provide for our family. We had at one point we had the discipline to get into dental school, to get through dental school, and we have abundant opportunity in front of us. And so there's kind of two dentists that I see all the time. Number one is the successful dentist who's like, now what? Like, I thought there was supposed to be a pot of the gold at the end of the rainbow, and now like I'm happy. And I'm like, I'm more successful than I've ever been. I'm also still kind of not happy. Or maybe I am, but like, what do I do next? Do I just keep growing? Do I buy a second practice? Do I buy another business? Do I go into real estate? Do I start buying car washes? And a lot of times, like, the next thing is an extra commitment that like actually doesn't bring fulfillment, but we like feel like we need to chase something else. And so that group needs an anchor of like, actually, maybe I need to reinvest in the things in my life that are the most important: my family, my health, my faith, my, just being a better person. Or it's the broken dentist. Like, and I really was both. It was like, on paper and on the surface, I looked very successful, but secretly I was very broken and not coping well and imploding. And just, it just felt like a non-functioning person, non-functioning adult. I was like, how am I CEO? Like, I'm barely functioning. And so, that was the goal, was like, let's bring this format to dentistry. And so I had quit in March. I had stepped down in March, and it was like couples therapy and diagnosis and medication and Superhuman Fathers and all these things to work on me and work on ourselves. And by the fall, it was like, okay, crap, I better buy a dental practice or get a job or do something. Otherwise, like, the money will run out. And I was like, I can either buy a practice. I don't mind being clinical. I like clinical dentistry. Or I could try to do this group full time, because so much of my career in dentistry, I've been overcommitted. It was like, I was in the Army full time, and then I started a podcast, and then we built a consulting company, and then I bought 3 practices while I was still in the Army and doing these 2 other things, and then sold those or walked away from those practices. Like, it's just been one series of overcommitment after another, which is probably why I burned out and probably why our marriage really suffered, is that like I just had been chronically overcommitted. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do one thing and focus on this one thing. And if I can change one man's life, if I can help one dentist find a new version of themselves and come out of the darkness, I'm sorry, but that's like so much more satisfying than an MOD. Like dentistry is great, but like, and even life-changing, even all on 4 and overdentures and these dramatic before and afters, this is way more fun. And these men really are transforming. You know, there's a guy, I could tell a whole bunch of stories, but anyways, that is kind of the arc that this led to. And what I'm doing right now is trying to reach dentists, help dentists who are burnt out and suffering, struggling with mental health, are struggling in all sorts of ways. Even if they don't join Next Level Fathers, I've got a Facebook group, Next Level Dentist, Rising Beyond Burnout. I just did a 5-part YouTube series or podcast also called Next Level Dentist, on suicide in dentistry, trying to figure out how do we prevent suicide? How do we recognize someone who is suicidal, and what do we say? Like, how do we grapple with this? And like my goal is, let's talk about the things that it's kind of not okay to talk about, because that which is most, I had a friend say, that which is most private is the most universal. It's like these things that we think we're alone, that like no one else can understand us. Actually, like everyone's kind of going through them and hiding them at the same time. And not everyone. There's like people out there who are crushing it and happy and in dentistry and outside of dentistry, but good for them. There's also a lot of people suffering and don't know who to turn to.
There's a proverb that says, whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire and breaks out against all sound judgment. And I think isolating ourselves as humans is for sure a coping mechanism that is universal, that we all are tempted to or we engage in because stress gets so high, we feel alone, we don't know how to talk, we don't know who to talk to. And so then isolation just becomes appealing. And so I think your breaking out of that was the joining of the Superhuman Fathers. And then you started Next Level Fathers. So why don't we talk about that? So like, when did you start Next Level Fathers? You know, kind of how has it grown? And then like, just give us the journey of Next Level Fathers, and, you know, where did it start? How's it growing? And where is it at now?
Yeah. No, and thanks for asking. So we're recording this in December of 2025. I started Next Level Fathers fall of 2024, in November. And I had posted this big long post at the beginning of October of just like, here's my whole messy journey. Here's like the ugly behind the scenes. Here's where our marriage is falling apart. Here's where, you know, and I've been on this journey. And if anyone relates to this and wants to have a similar, you know, transformation, I shared my before and after of, you know, losing 50 pounds, come along. And I had 20 dentists who signed up, who were like, okay, let's do this. We're going to trust you, Richard.
Awesome. 20 dentists. That's amazing.
Well, and a lot of them, I mean, the crazy part about a podcast is that, you know, the podcast I started, Shared Practices, was about solving this problem of how do I find and buy the right dental practice? And then once I'm in it, how do I grow it and be successful? So like, if you buy the wrong dental practice, it can really set yourself up for like a long-term battle. Just hard.
Yeah.
You set yourself up in the worst way if you buy or start kind of at a disadvantage. And so like that one pivotal moment, let's solve that moment and then continue to solve the problems of practice owners. So some of these guys have been listening to me for like 8-9 years on the podcast. And so there was some of this like, Richard, you don't know me, but I kind of know you because I've been listening to the podcast for a long time.
Yeah.
And so fortunately they trusted me enough to come along this journey with me, but it very quickly started to gain momentum. And I ended up having to cap how many guys I could take on per month. So now I'm at 6 guys per month. I've hired an additional coach that can help me as well. And so me and 2 coaches, we bring on 6 guys per month. And for the last 6 months, we've kind of filled up every single month. And then oftentimes there's a wait list for the next month. And so now we're just over 50 dentists. We had our first retreat in September, and
awesome.
hired a fitness photographer who drove from Miami to Tampa, or I think it was Miami. And I had looked in Tampa and I didn't like any of the fitness photographers. And so I was like, no. My head coach told me he's from the UK. He did exercise physiology. He's basically a physical therapist slash personal trainer, and has done high-end transformations in like the downtown London gyms with celebrities and investment bankers, and like, funnily enough, guys who are like, I want to go drink on the weekends and I still want to get shredded and get a six-pack. And he's like, all right, we can do that. Helps them thread that needle of like debauchery and getting in shape. And that was before before joining me, he had become a Christian. He had moved to Taiwan. He was dating a girl from Taiwan and had to kind of start over, and we connected. But he was like, Richard, you need to push these guys to get in the absolute best shape. I'll help you get them there. And then you guys need to do a fitness shoot in Tampa. And we did a men's retreat. The fitness shoot was like just the first thing we did, rip the Band-Aid off. And then we actually had an incredible day and a half after that. But like, it was pretty cool because a lot of these guys had lost 20, 30, 40 pounds and just looked insane. Like, it looks like AI, like when you see their before and afters. But it was also funny because we were like, do we wax? Do we not wax? Do we get a spray tan? Like, never thought I'd be having a conversation with a bunch of dudes about like, so I went
a bunch of dentist dudes.
A bunch of dentists. Like, so I was in the waxing camp. I went and got a chest and back wax. I thought it was gonna be like 40-year-old virgin style of like, okay, I hope I don't chicken out halfway through and end up with some weird pattern. So never thought I'd be doing that, but we had a blast, and we're gonna have a couple of retreats this next year. We're gonna do couples retreats. Our couples therapist is an Episcopalian priest who also has done stand-up comedy for the last 30 years. He's hosted a radio show. He's written a column in a newspaper, and he writes music and performs and plays guitar. And
wow,
he hosted a 2-day couples retreat with us, and we're going to do more of those as well. So we've got men's retreats a couple times per year. We've got couples retreats, which it's like 2 days of a couples retreat is like a year's worth of therapy as a couple, but it's just more fun because you're not alone. You're with other couples. So, and at this point, we hold each other accountable every single day. We kind of feel like we know each other. It's like in a very short period of time, we share our wins and our struggles, and we're working towards this common goal. And it's like the opposite of 75 Hard. I don't know if do you know much about 75 Hard?
This episode is brought to you by Rebel Crown. Are your dental crowns seated in minutes with flush margins and personal one-on-one service? If not, it's your time to rebel. The Rebel Crown is designed by your personal technician who you can call or text anytime. Milled with premium Harvest nanozirconia, manufactured here in the USA with a 1-week turnaround time. Learn more at rebel3d.com. That's REBEL 3D.com. I've heard of it. A friend of mine was doing it. I know a little bit about 75 days.
75 days. You're supposed to work out 2 45-minute workouts. One of them has to be outside no matter the weather. And then you got to like stick to your diet and get your water and your 10 pages of like self-development and something else. But the thing I hate about it, not only is like 2 45-minute workouts, one of them outside, not very sustainable long-term. The other thing is if you miss a day, you have to start over at day 1. So there's no grace. There's no mercy. There's like you are all or nothing, which is part of the challenge of it and like what makes it so hard. But it is creating this unsustainable all or nothing. And we have this daily game where it's like, okay, every day is day 1. Doesn't matter what you did yesterday or last week or last month. Every day is day 1. And we've got a minimum version of fitness, nutrition, putting in some spiritual work, some journaling, some reflection, and serving someone in your life. So hit a workout, no matter how small it is. Hit your nutrition. Here's your targets. We're going to make it easy for you. Get 15 minutes of spiritual work done. Journal something, even if it's 3 things you're grateful for, something small or deep, depending if you got the time, and serve someone. And for me, it's like a text to my wife because I always forget to tell her how much I love her and how much she means to me and that I think she's beautiful and incredible. And if I don't remind myself every day, 2 weeks will go by and she's like, do you even love me? Like, what's going on here? I'm like, yes, of course I love you. Look at all the things I'm doing. Like, this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But she needs to hear it. And I forget. So this is our daily game that we play as a group, and we live life in parallel. And it's just like dental school. It's just like a sports team. It's just like being in the military in a unit where you go through highs and lows together and you do something hard together and you transform. Like your identity becomes different. At the end of dental school, it's like, I'm a dentist, you know, like you did this incredibly hard thing. You got this degree, and some of your best friendships for the rest of your life are with other dentists that you went to dental school with, or you played collegiate sports and you know, make it to the championship, and like you're an athlete and you're part of a team and you're part of something bigger. Recreated that, but with just a tribe of remote dentists, and we figured out a way to make it work that like, these guys are my best friends, and I pinch myself that like somehow this is my full-time job and this is my life's work, is to hang out with these guys and help them get better, and they hold me accountable and I hold them accountable. It's awesome.
Can we run through your day one playbook?
Yeah.
I have a little picture here. Let me just pull it up. We'll just share this. So this is, I just grabbed a screenshot off of one of your videos. This is your day one playbook. Talk us through this.
Yeah. So what I was just talking about, find your tribe. Being accountable to a group is different than being accountable to like a personal trainer, because a personal trainer, you hire them, you pay them, and maybe it kind of like hurts to pay them. And so you're like, oh, I better make this count. But then after couple months, maybe you miss some things, and then you're like, well, I've still got my credits, but you've like the pain of having paid for it begins to fade over time. Versus when it's a group of people that are holding you accountable, it's like you want their respect, and just by being around them, it elevates you. And so there's this concept of tribal micro accountability. Find a tribe, but then make the accountability on the daily inputs. So rather than like, hey, the accountability is running a marathon, and at the end of all this training, then you run a marathon, make the accountability on
the process, the daily process,
the smallest pieces. And if you are consistent with the inputs, you know you're going to get the outputs. And so it's funny, some guys will join my group and they're like, I want to lose 30 pounds by X date. And I'm like, I don't really care. Like, because here's the thing, I want to do this the right way. I want you to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. That might take longer or shorter than you think. And actually, we might be able to get you further than you think, and get you stronger than you think, and more shredded than you think. And so it's nice to have kind of like future facing goals, but I care much, much more about, let's just focus on today, on today's micro inputs, and we're going to get to the outputs. So that's number one. Number two, make it a game. We have points. So it's like we have points associated with each one of these things, and we report our score on this daily game. So every day we hop on a little mini Zoom call on the way to work. And on that call, we all report. Here's what my score was yesterday. Here's what I'm committing to today. We've got like kind of names for the different scores and tiers for the day. And guys, like, we like to win. We like to play games. We like to, I think dentistry comes with a natural scoreboard in the dollars of how much collections and productions, and how many patients you serve, and how many new patients per month, and how big your team is. But there's not a game to these other parts of your life that actually probably matter a whole lot more. And so we are gamifying the things in life that actually matter, like your spiritual health, your marriage, are you serving other people? Are you being consistent and having integrity with how you eat? Are you doing something for your physical health in terms of exercise every day? Turning those into a game makes it easier to stick with them, because it's not just it creates boundaries. It's like when you play tennis, like the ball is either in or out of bounds. And so like some of the things to our game are a little bit arbitrary, but it's like, hey, this is the game we're playing. Here are the boundaries. Either you hit the point or you didn't hit the point. And I think that is really powerful to do as a group. So that's the daily game. Any questions on those first two, or any comments before I go to the last one?
Well, yeah, making it a game is for sure makes it fun, and obviously we're competitive as humans. I think men by the way we're wired. We're a little bit more competitive, maybe, and we love to celebrate little wins. One of my favorite quotes about goals is that if you have a goal, but you don't have a plan and process to get there, then it's just a fantasy, right? Anyone can say, I want to make X dollars in the future. I want to get to this X place. Okay, great. But what's the process to get there? So this micro accountability and this daily game scorecard really of what did you do, I think is the process is what gives you the result. And we have a lot less control over the results or the output or the outcome, but we have a lot of control over what we do today, right? Like we actually can control today for the most part, barring any major life events, but we can read our Bibles for 15 minutes or read a book, and we can journal for a few minutes, and we can choose to eat right, and we can do a 10-minute workout on the bike, or do a few push-ups and sit-ups and bicep curls or whatever. Like, you have the 10 to 15 minutes for each of those things. It's just, are you going to choose to do that today? Right. And can you choose to do that today? And I think this tribe of micro accountability, it's like what is going to happen is there's a call I'm going to get on tomorrow morning.
Yep.
And how do I want to report?
Yep.
And that's really powerful.
And you're exactly right in that there's a lot of things that are out of our control. And I think that is one of the things that leads to a lot of burnout in dentistry is when we feel trapped, when we feel like the walls are closing in, that like, I can't control this situation. I'm kind of miserable. I'm alone. I'm isolated. And so there's like this weird switch that flips when you're like, you wake up a little earlier, you hit these daily non-negotiables, you have momentum. The stressors actually haven't really changed that much, but you're all of a sudden in the driver's seat. You're not being driven around by life. It's like, no, I can't control everything, but I can control me. I can control what goes in my mouth, and I can control what goes out of my mouth. I can control the energy that I have and how I show up, my intentionality with how I show up with my team, my patients, my family, with myself, with God. I can control that. And when you control those parts of you, the stressors affect you less. They don't crush you, because I think that's what, for me, burnout is, that it's a chronic exceeding of our capacity to handle stress to the point where our capacity continues to shrink. So it's like we've redlined it for so long. Now things that used to feel bearable now feel unbearable. But when you take control, all of a sudden your capacity and the weight of those stressors affects you differently. And you start to kind of breathe, and you have the strength and the clarity to start to make decisions that might be hard decisions, to start to have conversations that might be hard conversations to have. And I've seen that over and over and over. I mean, there's been guys who've joined Next Level Fathers who were suicidal before joining. And in a very short period of time, they're like, I didn't realize happiness was on this was just recently, like last week, a guy said, I didn't realize that if I just did this kind of 1 hour of time in my daily life differently, it was the difference between feeling miserable and burnt out and alone and feeling in control and empowered and feeling so good and happy and fulfilled. And he's like, it wasn't that much. We waste like an hour a day on our phones, for goodness sakes.
I know.
Like, look at your screen time for the week. Everyone says they don't have time, but you probably between 9 p.m. and midnight decompressed in some unhealthy way that was either Netflix or your phone or whatever. And when you do this, you regain control, and it changes your relationship to life. And one of the new things I'm going to add and tweak to this playbook is this idea that we need to reset our identity. This extreme change, when you do something extreme for a short period of time, and when you like look different in the mirror, you see yourself differently. Like when we were working on our marriage, it was really nice for the fact that 6 months later, I didn't even look like the same person. Like, I was acting different in our marriage. I was acting differently in our life, but like, I really wasn't the same person that I used to be. And I was convicted of that because I just looked different in the mirror, and she's convicted of that. And it also really helps that like every passing month you look better and better and better in your marriage when you're trying to like work on that. That doesn't hurt. But when you reset your identity, so it's this reset identity protocol, RIP. It's like you need to kill the old version of yourself and create a new version of yourself. And if all it takes is 1 6-month recomposition, if you will cut fat and build muscle for 6 months, you will look and feel different, and the process will transform you. And that shock to the system allows neuroplasticity, allows our brains to see things differently, see the world differently, see ourselves differently. And that's what we're doing here, is like kind of shaking it up. It's like we're not going to do the same things we've always done because they've led to results that we don't like.
Mm.
And so, that's one more piece of this I'm going to add. But then the final step here is this harness deep meaning and the next man effect. So I want to tap into as many sources of meaning as possible, because if the reason that someone is like having a fitness transformation is just to just look hot in the mirror naked, like that's the only thing they're going for, you can actually come out of that the other side like more of an asshole. Like and I'm sorry, I don't know if we don't have to say that
I'm
on the
fine with
show.
that. It's a true statement.
But I've seen that. Like if you come out on the other side of a fitness transformation and you just have more of an ego, like man, you kind of wasted that transformation because
100%. It missed the whole point.
you missed the whole point. And so I want to find every piece of meaning. If someone is like, I want this so that I can be at my daughter's wedding, because my health right now and my biomarkers and my doctor are telling me that like I'm not going to see my grandkids if I continue this way, which guys have joined my group that way. Or I believe that like I'm a steward of my body and my life, my finances, and God's given me this opportunity. If I squander it and I'm not of service for the last 20 years of my life because my health is like bogging me down so much, is that worth it? I want to be able to protect my children. I want my sons to look at me and be like, my dad can beat up your dad. Like who cares whose dad can actually beat up whose dad? But your kids want to feel safe. You personally,
Yep.
I've got 3 daughters. I want to be there at the door when their boyfriends pick them up in high school, and for the guys to not just be like, who's this softy? Like, not that I'm
Yep.
gonna like strong arm them or flex or any of that, but like it's just, if we can tap into as many layers of meaning as possible in a transformation, we've got more to dig deep in why we're doing it. And one of the things this group creates is this next man effect, which means you see guys go from being dark, like they show up, they're addicted, their marriage is in a bad place, they're mentally not in a good place, they're just kind of broken when they join the group, and they transform. And when you see that guy transform, you realize like, oh, this matters. This isn't just about hitting my nutrition and my workouts. And I want my transformation to inspire another guy because I want to pay it forward. And so in this group, we have this next man effect of like, it is going to ripple. And it sure enough, it happens. Your team members, your kids, your spouse, they're all watching. They're pretty skeptical at first because maybe you've tried crap like this before and failed. But eventually people in your life will spontaneously start making positive improvements to their health, to their daily habits. And it might be your kids. I mean, there's a guy in the group whose teenage son is now doing all the things. He's doing the spiritual work. He's doing the journaling. He goes to the gym with him. And then he taught him about, the service. And he didn't force that on his son. His son was just watching. And like,
Amen.
Sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, but like literal next man effect. It's like, this is the son he's raising to be a man. And to be a version of yourself that like you're really proud of, that your kids look up to, is like the greatest gift you can give your kids. Like we're all going to kind of screw our kids up a little bit. That's just like the process of being an imperfect parent. But are you going to pass along generational unhealthy coping and trauma? Or can you pass along working on yourself and modeling that for them? You're not going to be perfect, but can you model vulnerability and honesty and transformation and discipline so that they still might have to find it their own way and they still might struggle, but like they've seen an example of what that looks like. So that's the next man effect, is we want to, and harnessing deep meaning, we want to pull on as many reasons that your transformation really matters beyond simply losing weight.
My guess is Many men join this and they're probably hungering for just I just need triage. I just need to get, physically healthy and get out of this funk. And then as they go through this process and they do the spiritual work and the physical work, they're probably shocked at how much their life actually changes. There's probably a greater effect that they weren't anticipating. And then the people around them, my guess, is they notice, right? Like wife, kids, coworkers, like will make comments of like, dude, you're different, right? And then my guess is that opens up conversations, and then pulling someone else in who's witnessing you transform. You don't even really have to plan for that. My guess is that people are just kind of like magnetized towards you because you've undergone this transformation that they've seen with their own eyes, and they're like, dude, I need some of that.
100%. It's you don't realize, especially as a dentist, with the influence you have over your team, your patients, like you have a community, you have people who are depending on you. And so how you show up as a leader, how you show up in your marriage, your communities, your church communities, like people look to you because you got your crap together. At least you're supposed to, like it looks like you do.
Yep.
And if the more they get to know you, the more people are like, oh, wow, like that guy's the real deal. Like that's someone who's walking the walk. They're not just full of themselves and caring about the wrong things. Like that's a good person. And being impressive in that way is something that opens up the door to people being like, what are you doing differently? Like what? Like how'd you get here? I want some of what you have. And it is a ripple effect. And it's literally infinite impact because I think there was a college graduation speech where it was this like admiral from the Navy who was speaking to I don't know, Texas A&M or something. He's talking about like we come in contact with like 10,000 people in our life. And the people that we have like a deeper impact, sure, that number is smaller. But showing up differently every single day and showing up present and caring about people around you, it just ripples. And the more of that you can do, and the deeper you can change yourself and help someone else change, the more it ripples even further. So it's just kind of cool to think about that and to realize that like what we do on a daily basis matters. And it's not just me and my own little world and my selfishness and making money and retiring and then sailing off to the sunset. Like there's a lot of good that all of us can do in the world if we're awake to it. We're not falling asleep.
Totally agree. One of my favorite definitions of a leader is one person who's voluntarily following you. And the voluntary is important because you could be the leader on your business card. But if they're just following you because you signed their check, well, then you're not a leader. But if someone is voluntarily choosing to look at you and to follow your example because you have things in life that they want, character qualities and discipline, that is a leader. And it just takes one, right? If one person around you is looking to you as a leader, well, then you are, if they're choosing to follow you. But if it's not voluntary, then it's just a title on a card and it doesn't really mean anything. I wanted to just, if you could summarize, so let's say I signed up for Next Level Fathers today and that you took me on and I joined the program. What does it look like, day one, week one, month one, and then like, how long does it last? And just walk me through, okay, I joined today. What's my journey through Next Level Fathers?
Yeah. So, and this is, it's all evolving. So as of December 2025, two options for people. We have a 2-month option. We have a 12-month option. The 2-month option, I tell guys, I'm like, I'm just kind of a bad salesperson and like, I'm not a high pressure salesperson. So rather than like trying to strong arm someone into a 12-month, I'm just like, just join for 2 months. And if it's the right program, you'll know very quickly. And here's the credit that you can use to upgrade to the full year. I also don't want to have to convince someone's spouse. I'm like, your wife might be skeptical. And it's like, do we buy this new couch or do we invest in your health? And it's like, okay, fine. We'll just do 2 months. And if you actually stick with this, then we'll do the full year. So we get people actually onboarding something I'm very obsessed with. My whole team, I have a team of 5. And there's a couple of team members from the Philippines. And my team lead, she walks people through, very quickly just the initial steps, and then I do the full onboarding with someone. And very quickly, the goal is, okay, you're in the system. Here's your nutrition targets. I've got courses built on like how to be consistent with your nutrition even when you're stressed, your life is crazy. Because the nutrition, like that is where you lose fat, is nutrition. You're never going to outwork a bad diet. And so like I've even built like some custom GPT tools that are like, here is your nutrition GPT for next level fathers. And so the goal is within a short period of time, you have found a consistent pattern of eating for breakfast and lunch that sets you up with like protein and satiety. So you're feeling nice and full. You've got plenty of energy in the first half of the day, but you also have enough wiggle room to then eat the family meal at night. Maybe not 4 helpings of pizza, but you
Right.
can eat some of the family meal. You don't have to be like off drinking a protein shake in the corner
Yeah.
while your family eats dinner. So, I mean, really within like a few days, they're up and running. They're in the program. They've got the tools they need. They've got the shopping list. They've got the custom chat GPT and the support in terms of like figuring all this out. And then honestly, they have infinite support. I tell guys, I've seen these dental masterminds where it's like a once a month call and a third of the dentists show up on the call once a month. And they're paying a lot of money to be in a mastermind. We have daily calls Monday through Friday, and then we've got a mastermind call on Saturdays. And it's on the way to work. You don't have to come to all those calls. They get condensed and turned into like a little mini podcast feed. So you can join the feed or listen on the feed if you miss the calls. But you have infinite support. Literally on any given day of the week. Here's my problem. Here's my struggle. Here's my win. Here's what I'm working through. Richard, what would you do here? The coaches, XYZ. So between our community platform, we've got an app, our daily calls, our weekly check-ins, like we're just going to help someone be successful in this as long as they show up. That's the only thing I can't force people to do is to like report and raise their hand. And so the biggest thing is like, just drop the shame. Like the perfectionism that we have in dentistry, we either want to be perfect or we don't want to show up at all. And so this is the safe little microcosm of like this daily game uncovers a lot of the shame and perfectionism that drive other unhealthy coping in the rest of our life. So I don't know if I answered your question, but like very, very quickly within month 1, you're losing weight, you're getting in shape, you're hitting your workouts. We've got workouts for you programmed 6 days a week. So if you have the time and the availability, that you can do it at your home gym. You're going to hit those workouts, or you can substitute it with any workout as long as it's 10 minutes or longer. So you're hitting the workouts, you're getting your nutrition, you're hitting your other daily non-negotiables, you're reporting to the group, and we're supporting you, and we just get people up and running, and it works. It's just really fun. We've lost nearly 1,000 pounds as a group over the last year, which is crazy.
That is amazing. This episode is brought to you by Rebel Crown. Are your dental crowns seated in minutes with flush margins and personal one-on-one service? If not, it's your time to rebel. The Rebel Crown is designed by your personal technician who you can call or text anytime. Milled with premium Harvest Nanozirconia, manufactured here in the USA with a 1-week turnaround time. Learn more at rebel3d.com. That's REBEL 3D.com. All right, so Dr. Richard, let's look at some of the results here. Here's your Instagram page with some of the doctors that have joined the group. How much time has gone by for Dr. Davidson here between his before and after? How long in process was he to get these results in your Next Level Fathers group?
So I think this is his before, slightly before he joined the group. He's been in for less than a year. But this was in September. So it was about 9 months to get to that like fully kind of shredded bottom of the cut. But it's pretty consistent, like 6 to 9 months. If you can be focused for 6 to 9 months and just be consistent, like you're going to look
that's
very,
not
very
AI generated. I mean, that's a real photo. Can you vouch
no AI.
for the...
That's the fitness photographer in Tampa. You can tell, and I actually have like video footage of the photo shoot just for like proof that this is real. But all of us have the same cork background. It was this Airbnb that we were in. So they're real photos, not AI.
I mean, this is unbelievable. There is something to be said about how when you look good, you feel good, right? And when you can look at yourself in the mirror, and not in a prideful way, but in a like grateful, like I'm seeing some results and it's starting to pay off, and I'm a month in or I'm 2 months in, and I can already see a difference. There is a boost to your mental health, right? Like I'm exerting discipline and I can see results. My wife can see results. My kids can see results. And I just love that.
Our favorite phrase, so I actually have this on, I don't know if you can see this on the Yeti here. It says, just wait. I think the reflection's getting it the worst way. So that's our response when it's been 1 or 2 months or 6 months in the program of like, someone's like, wow, what have you been doing? It's like, well, I've only been doing this for 2 months. Just wait. Give me 9 months. Give me a year. Give me 2 years. Give me 3 years. Like this is just the beginning, and I think it's the commitment to the process that's pretty fun.
Unbelievable. So, I mean, obviously, proof in physical transformation here, which is so cool. I want to lean into the spiritual side of things and talk about just the importance of the spiritual work. And let me just ask that question. Like, how critical is the spiritual work to you? Share just your faith and your faith walk and your faith journey and sort of the faith discipline that you have in this process. And how is that now integrated into your life?
Yeah. So, there's guys who've joined our group who maybe struggle with their faith, or maybe they don't really believe in God. But I'd say about 90% of the guys in the group, like this is really important. And for me, promises to God, my promises to follow Christ are central to like how I live and operate in the world. There is, for a long time, there's been this gap between like, okay, I probably should do more. Like I'm not connecting with God a lot. I'm not reading his word a lot. I'm not, maybe I'm like, my eyes are wandering on Instagram on profile pictures that I shouldn't be. It's like there's things in my past where it's like, I want to be a better version of myself spiritually, but I've struggled to be consistent. I go to church on Sunday, I check that box, but am I like actually living in communion with God? Am I actually like turning my sins over to Christ every day? I tell people, hire God as your business coach. Like,
Amen.
he'll help you in your marriage. He'll help you in your practice. And one of my favorite things is to help guys not only pray, but like get answers back, because, I think I talked about perfectionism and shame a minute ago. Shame is like one of the most powerful tools of the adversary to take us down because it isolates us.
He's our accuser. Yeah.
That's exactly right. If the devil can get us to hide and isolate, then we can't be helped.
I mean, what did Adam and Eve do when they ate the fruit?
They hid.
They hid. They hid from God. And I love how when God shows up, he doesn't start with accusation or punishment. He starts with a question. Where are you? Just the heart of God is, if you are in isolation, God's not running to judgment. He just wants you to answer the question, where are you right now? And it sounds like, Dr. Richard, you knew that you were in a place that needed help. And so just talk me through your spiritual connection with God. What does that practically look like? Like what's like sort of, not that there's a recipe for everyone to follow, but there's some principles for people to be like, okay, so here's the principles that you do in your spiritual walk.
Yeah. So there's four really specific things that I'll mention here, that like concrete daily things. Number one, my goal first thing every morning is to pray. It's like pray and really hit my knees and really think like, where am I screwing up? Like what do I need to turn over to God? What do I need to say? Sorry, this is where I fell short again, and forgive me, and take his name upon me. Like, am I acting as a Christian? Am I following Christ today and recommitting to the promises and covenants I made when I was baptized and when I got married and all these things? Am I living up to that? So like prayer, like a sincere recommitment, repentance prayer every morning, realignment. There's this phrase that I love from one of the guys in the group, Josh Beloff, and he says this, I give you everything and everyone. So like turn over to God all my attachments to the things I want in this world. I give you everything and everyone. So having that prayer first thing. And then the next is when I do my journaling, kind of as a prayer. So I just do it voice to text. I'll be like on the treadmill at home, because I got a treadmill at home, and I'll voice to text, and I'll kind of just like talk through the things I'm concerned about, that I'm worried about, whether it's my marriage, personally, in the business. And as I voice to text that, it's like as a prayer. I'm like, Heavenly Father, go through it. And then at the end of that, I'll do something that might make me seem like a crazy person. I'll flip the switch and I'll pretend as if I'm God speaking back to me. So I'll like voice to text, or if I was writing, I would write Richard, my son, and then just kind of let it flow, like whatever I feel like God would say back. And it always surprises me, the things that come out.
Mm.
Um, and so it's just kind of, I feel like God, when he sees that, I give the analogy of a dental assistant. If you had a dental assistant who walked around your dental office and every single day they came to you first thing and just be like, hey doc, what can I do better? I want to do better. I want to learn today. They've got pen and paper in hand, and everything you say, they kind of write down, and then they go and like make those changes. Like, man, you would pour so much into that person. You would trust them with so much in your office. You would help with them. You'd build systems together. You'd let them be your office manager eventually, because
Of
they
course.
just keep coming to you and they're like, okay, what more can I do? What can
Mm.
I do better? How can I help? And when God sees that we're like legitimately writing down things that we learn and that he's giving to us, he's going to give us more. He's like, I wish all my children would just come to me with pen and paper and be begging for guidance and then take that and act on it. So making sure I pray first, I pray journal, which is separate than like kind of that first prayer. And then I listen to scripture and devotional either while I work out or while I clean the house or get other stuff done on a commute throughout the day. And then the last thing that I've just realized is I feel like sometimes throughout the day I kind of get lost and I just like don't really keep God in my sights very well. Like by the
Mm.
end of the day, I've gotten bogged down by all the stressors. And just recently this week, I had this impression. The way that I can always remember Christ is when I see God in my relationships. So
Mm.
my relationship with God, if I just focus on like me and him, and that's like all I focus on, then like I'm limiting myself. But if I look at my family, the people I come across, and say, how does God see them? Like, what are the pieces of God in them? Like the pieces of the divine in them? How can I pray for them? How can I serve them? How can
Mm.
I be someone that they see God through me because I'm living and following and trying, even though I'm not perfect? And so for me now, I'm like, I'm looking for God in my relationships. And that's a
Mm.
new shift in my view, in my perspective, and something I'm trying to work
Well, I absolutely love that. I agree with everything you said there. Looking for God in your relationships. I think there's a fundamental truth that relationships are hard, and that oftentimes a good relationship means we have to sacrifice some things in that relationship, and we're going to need God's help, right? Take your marriage or take your kids or whatever it is. Your wife's going to ask things of you that are uncomfortable, that you don't really feel like doing, you don't really want to do, but you know you should do it. So then what? Are you going to do it? And you're probably going to need God's help in order to do that, in order to carry that out and invest in that relationship as you should. And I would submit, to really have healthy, meaningful, fulfilling relationships, you're going to need spiritual help. You're going to need some divine intervention to be like, no, Rob, you're being prideful. Your ego's in the way. Just shut up and do it. Don't pick a fight. Yeah, she said something that was a little rude. Just freaking let it go and take out the trash anyway, or mow the lawn anyway, or whatever it is that she's wanting that you just don't feel like doing. And I think that's really important, really critical. Tapping into that spiritual help, I think we all need. And we're an hour and 15, and we probably should try to land the plane here. I feel like I could just keep talking with you, but you had mentioned early on just, identity transformation. And, I know there's people out there that are atheists or agnostic and don't really believe in God, but I would like to propose something. Tell me if you agree or disagree that if my identity is wrapped up in me being a dentist, I can lose that. If it's wrapped up in me being a father, I can lose that. A husband, I can lose that. There's identity things that are important and meaningful that we should pursue and find some level of meaning in, but those things are fragile to a degree, some more than others. If my identity is I am a child of God, that is unshakable. That cannot ever be stolen by the enemy or by anyone else around me. And if I can tap into that as my root or just foundational identity, and then from that flows my identity as a husband, a father, a dental professional, or whatever it is, then those manifestations are going to hold, or they're going to be supported by the root of my identity is first, I am a child of God, because that is unshakable. What's your reaction to that?
I love that. I mean, as a dentist, I'm going to be unemployed in the afterlife. There is no teeth needing a fixed. Uh, And so if that is my identity, that I'm screwed. That can't be sustainable. And you're absolutely right. We can lose a spouse, we can lose our children, we don't want those things. Fundamentally, we are God's children. And I think there is also a prioritization of that identity of like, even though, I can lose my spouse, I want to like be that husband to her. And I believe relationships continue into the eternities. And so it's like the relationships we build here will continue on after we pass on. But you're absolutely right. That is the fundamental original relationship. And actually, one of my favorite things, so our group, it is cross-denominational. The very first guy who joined, Dr. Chien out of California, he was like, Richard, I'm agnostic, but I really want to lose 30 to 40 pounds. Is that okay if I join your group? And I was like, absolutely, but you got to be okay with Jesus coming up. And as long as you're okay with that,
It's going to leak out eventually.
it's going to come out. We're not doing the woke like dance, like pretend like religion doesn't exist and all that. Like, we're going to talk about this because it deeply matters to the men in this group. And so much of our lives in dentistry is compartmentalized when you're around patients, when you're around team members, when you're in a professional setting. Like, it's a very science-based profession. It's very, I don't know, there is hesitancy. There has been hesitancy in me to talk about my faith. But I love that it's cross-denominational, because some of the insights that guys have had in the group who are Sikh or Muslim or different denominations of Christian, we're all children of God. And if we're trying to be more like him, and we're trying to be better husbands and fathers, and we can help each other along the way, like I'm LDS and there's other guys who are Catholic or who are Baptist or non-denominational Christian, like I love that the spiritual fire that these men have, we're all warming our hands by each other's fires. And it's like we kind of light each other's fires, and they continue to grow. But that's the core identity, is that we are children of God.
Man, I feel like we should end on that. And Dr. Richard, if people want to reach out to you, they could direct message you on your Instagram or go to nextlevelfathers.com. Any other way to reach out and to follow you?
Yeah, I would say Next Level Dentist, the YouTube or the podcast, as well as there's a Facebook group. If you're a dentist, Next Level Dentist, Rising Beyond Burnout, please join that group. Instagram DM is probably like the best way. Follow and then DM me on Instagram. And I try and do my best to stay on top of those. The website, nextlevelfathers@thispoint.com, kind of sucks. So that's like an old website that I need to update. But yeah, Instagram DMs would be the best way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Richard. I look forward to another one. I'm sure there's some more fun topics we could tackle, and maybe get some progress reports here in the next year or so, how things are going.
Rob, this was awesome. Thank you.
Super fun. Thank you.